I'm not ready today to run a construction company. I'm not ready to be on TV. I'm not ready to have my own show. Yet here we are. Like, and if you're going to wait for that moment's never going to come. Or if it does come, it's too late. You have to strike while the iron is hot. And it was like, that was the moment.
Welcome to Happy to See Me, the podcast that puts the spotlight on the overlooked and underestimated. I'm Erika Casupanan, the first Canadian to win Survivor. But before that, I was a Filipino immigrant and corporate perfectionist who felt doubted and overlooked. Now I'm here to prove that every journey, whether messy, beautiful, or unexpected, is worth celebrating. Every Monday, I bring you candid conversations and relatable pep talks with guests who've defied expectations. If you're ready to feel seen, celebrated, and empowered, you're in the right place. And here, I'm always happy to see you. The inside of my drawer, like everything looks like it's fine, and then you open the drawer and it's like chaos.
Mine's okay because every now and then I will take it all out and refold it and put it back.
Okay, that's okay.
Once it gets to the chaos point.
Yeah, so you're a good human.
And I wouldn't go that far.
I mean, I would call you a good human.
Well, thanks. Can you imagine if you were like, I think you're terrible?
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay. Glad we didn't get my real feelings on the recording. No, but Kristen, I'm so happy to have you on the show today.
I'm very excited to be here. This is a lot of fun.
Yes. I mean, why don't I introduce you to the listeners? Because you have an amazing story. So Kristen is a self-taught DIYer out of Toronto. She picked up her first power tool when she was on maternity leave with her first child after she and her family had just moved to a fixer-upper. And after getting astronomical quotes from contractors, Kristen figured out how to take on the renovation herself. And now she has a multi-year waitlist to engage her services, and she is known for budget-friendly, glamorous renovations with a side of fashion humor and plenty of awkward moments. And she is currently the host of Budget Reno.
Yes.
Welcome, Kristen.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Is it surreal to hear all of that related to you?
I mean, it's awkward. Like, I don't like hearing about myself. You know, it's like you want to know it exists, but like, it's weird. Isn't it weird to hear about yourself?
Yes, I agree. I also feel, I don't know. I know that you started working in home reno or even doing home reno projects in 2020. And isn't it wild that this story that I just said about you didn't even exist 5 years ago?
Yeah, so it was 2021.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
So 4 years ago.
Yeah, so it feels really weird. It feels really fast.
Yeah.
And also very short at the same time because the days are long when you're doing the stuff. Like when you're like putting down flooring, you're like 6 hours has gone by. And you know that meme from like Titanic where she's like, it has been 84 years.
Yeah.
So it's like that. But at the same time, you're like, whoa, to have gone from never having hung a painting before to now having a TV show about home renos in 4 years is pretty wild.
I think that's the dream. I think a lot of people would love to be able to go from learning a new skill to being on TV to teach other people that skill within 4 years. And I think that that's so fast, and it's incredible that you pulled it off.
Oh, thank you. It's been fun. It's been like a complete whirlwind.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to get into it. I do love to start the episode by asking if there was something you were happy to see this week.
I don't know. There's sun outside. I'm happy about that. I'm happy that the Blue Jays are going to the World Series. I'm very happy about that. That's a good thing.
100%. We are recording this. It's a couple days after the ALCS Game 7. World Series starts on Friday, and the city, totally a different vibe now.
It's, you know what? People are friendly. Not that they aren't normally, but like there's just like a little bit more of like a rallying together, which is really nice because I feel like the world and Canada could use that right now. Just like coming together a little bit, which is very nice.
Yes. I was talking to someone about this the other day. We really need a win. And I know that it's the Jays playing, but I feel like it's our win when they win. And I feel like Canada really deserves it right now.
What was the last one? 92, 93?
Yeah,
like
93.
It's time.
Yes.
It's time. I think we deserve a win, you know?
Yeah. And I still remember 2019 when the Raptors won and just how joyous that was. And I remember being at the bar and then they win and running out onto the street and celebrating. And it would be so nice to have a moment like that again.
I think so. I think it would be really fun.
I love that. Okay, can I share what I was happy to see?
Sure.
Okay, so I feel like people listening to this will be like, as if this is what she's happy to see, but I met somebody in real life. We were just chatting, and I think that they were trying to hold back that they were a fan of me from Survivor. And then she was asking me about podcasting, and then she let it slip that she listens to my podcast. I was like, oh my God, you listen? Even though I see the numbers and I know people are listening, but it is surreal when you meet somebody in real life. And she was like, yeah, I've listened to like every episode. I was like, oh my God, really? And again, I know people do it and I appreciate everyone listening. And for me, it still feels so surreal that there are people who allow me into their world every week. So it just meant a lot that, one, I met somebody, and two, that she was willing to share that with me. And yeah, I think it just reminds me of the purpose and why I love doing this so much. So thank you to that person, and also thank you to everybody who keeps tuning into the show.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's what I was happy to. Thank you. So I also love to start off by asking guests if you have ever felt underestimated.
Always. Always. It's like the story of my life. Like, I mean, I think there's like a bit of backstory here, I guess, in order to answer this question. But I found it really interesting after now Beer Budget Reno, my show, has aired in the US and it's airing here. Do you know the number one Googled question about me?
No.
People Google, if you type my name, Kristen Coutts, the thing that pops up right beside it is ethnicity.
Wow.
People want to know what my background is, because they can't figure it out, because you can't by looking at me and seeing my name. People are like, what on earth are you?
Yeah.
And so I'm Indian. And that for me, right from being a kid till now, I've always felt underestimated in every sense of the word, because I'm like, in what world did we see people like me when we watch TV? In what world was that normal? And to not see someone who looks like me, but in a non-stereotypical role. So I've always felt underestimated in really anything that I've wanted to do. And I don't know who taught me this, because it's certainly not a message my parents gave me or anything like that. But I was always sort of felt like I was meant to be like a background character. And it was like through whatever corporate career I had or interest I took up or anything like that, I was always the behind the scenes person, right? And there was something along the way, something as part of this journey that kind of went, no, I think it's time that you get to have that little main character energy moment, right? But I've always felt underestimated. I've always never felt like I deserved that spot. And it's very weird now to have that spot and then sort of like the pressure that there is, or the pressure I put on myself to make sure that that spot is available to others.
See, as you were saying that, I felt like I really related to your journey. And before we started recording, we were talking about how both of us used to work in corporate communications. And I think especially when you're in that role, and I think that, the cross-section of being in that role and also being a woman of color, often when you're in corporate communications, you are in service to other people. You are making sure that other people shine, or that the company you work for shines. And you don't really get that opportunity to be in the spotlight yourself. So I know you said that something happened along the way where you realized, you know what? I get to shine. I get to have the spotlight. Was there a moment, or was it a journey? Like, can you tell me a bit about that progression?
Yeah, it was a journey, I would say. So I worked at the bank. I worked at a bank in corporate communications for about 10 years. And I don't know if it's a millennial thing, but it's like, for me, it was like when I was getting towards 30, I like had this like identity crisis.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is happening? Like, what am I doing with my life? And it was around the time I was hitting like my 10-year anniversary at the bank. My boss was hitting her 30. And it was like this,
That's scary.
Yeah, it was like this like tunnel into the future where I'm like, man, if I don't leave, that's going to be me. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but it was like coming towards 30. It was like getting this itch that like there ain't no cream out there could solve. I was like, I gotta go try something else. I gotta go figure this out. So I decided to leave. And I can't remember if I heard this on your podcast where you were like, or I read it somewhere in an article where you were like, when you went on Survivor, you just quit your job.
Yes.
And you're like, whatever. If this doesn't work out, I'll figure it out when I get back. And people found that hard to believe. I'm like, no, that is very much my experience as well. I'm like, I'm going to quit. I'm going to go find something else. And I worked in the travel industry for a while. And it was very cool because, as you know, in corporate communications, you wear 1,000 hats. You're the person who writes the speeches and the employee newsletter and do the social media and plan the event and like make sure there's enough ice for everybody. So I did like the event planning thing. I traveled and I did the event planning thing and corporate communications still. And I was still like, this is still not enough. I'm doing what on paper is my dream job. I'm literally traveling the world and throwing parties. But I was still millennial side gigging everything. I was like, I'm going to try doing this on the side. I'm going to do this on the side. And it was like that entrepreneurial bug just kept itching at me. And I was like, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to go all in on this. I was like, I'm just going to quit. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to find enough clients to do work on the side. And so I left. In 2020, I left. And this was before the world fell apart with the pandemic. And so I feel like I got a little ahead there where I got to like figure out the work from home thing before everyone was like, wait, you got to get out of pajamas at some point. But it was like this progression on the career side. And it was like once I did the career side of things, I started doing a lot of like internal soul searching. So I went on another podcast a few weeks ago. There's an influencer her name's Sarah Landry, but her handle's the Birds Papaya. She's actually on Traders Canada right now.
Oh my gosh,
exciting.
I hope she goes further than me.
Yes, I do hope so. Got to have my friends do well on there. But I'd met her and we'd had a conversation and, I started following her account and there was a lot on there about like where you are now, like you are enough. And it was the first time I'd ever heard that message. Like I grew up being like, I'm not going to be enough because of my skin color or my hair color or my body size or whatever it is. And it was always this thing. Maybe I'll try that once I lose 20 pounds. Maybe I'll try that once I get the highlights in my hair. Maybe I'll try that once I whatever. And it was the first time I'd heard this message of, no, where you are right now, you are good enough and you can be happy and you can have whatever life you want to, regardless of whatever these external circumstances are. And it was literally the first time I heard that message. And I was in my 30s and it like blew my mind and it like broke my brain for a long time. And then it was like when I combined this thing of finding confidence in my career with being like, wait, I can find confidence in myself with who I am right now in this moment, it was that. That was the thing where I'm like, I'm going to go pursue everything that I want. And I'm allowed to because I deserve it. But it took me a long time to get there. I would say that journey was probably like 6-7 years. So, when people say, wow, you went from like zero power tools to an international TV show in 4 years, it was like, yeah, but that fast thing happened because I did the work over the previous 7 years to get there.
Yeah. See, I can totally relate because as a lot of folks who listen to the podcast know, I publicly came out when I was 34 and people were like, wow, how did you figure it out? And I was like, listen, things like this don't happen in a vacuum. Leading up to that, 2020, I was supposed to be on Survivor. 2021, quit my job, go on Survivor. Totally changes my career, my view of myself, and everything kind of falls apart. And then that's when space is created for you to figure out this new facet of your identity, or you find a new well of confidence, right? I think that people don't realize that it's not like you pick up the tool and you're like, oh, I could be on TV and you make it happen. But it is the culmination of probably so many parts of your identity breaking apart, being rebuilt. So I really admire and I see myself in a lot of that journey for sure.
And it was really interesting watching your season of Survivor, that like 2 days that you had to spend by yourself. It was like watching that. It was like actually watching that moment happen for you where it was like, I quit my job and I'm going to do this and I'm here and like I'm by myself and what am I going to do next? It was like actually physically being able to watch that. And it was like really cool seeing you come out on the other side of it and then watching what you're doing now, I think just feels like a really amazing journey.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, the 2 days, it did change my life because I was terrified. That was my one thing I didn't want to do. And then I did 2 days of being exiled and I came out. I'm like, wait, if I can do that, then I actually can do anything I'm scared of.
Yeah.
In terms of getting started with home reno, was this something that you had some comfort in before? Was it something that intimidated you? Did it scare you a little bit? Where were you at before you got started?
I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't own a tool. And then I was too scared to walk into the hardware store. So I actually ordered them online and had them shipped to my house because I didn't want to walk into a hardware store and someone be like, hey, little miss, what you trying to do over here? I didn't want that moment. So I just had them ordered and delivered to my house. The only thing that I had done before was doom scrolled Instagram and was like, that's a cool transformation. Save. And then I watched these girls in the US do these transformations and these before and afters. And I was like, I want to do that one day. So I started like saving some of these posts and like inspiration for around my house, but I did nothing with it. Hadn't hung a painting, didn't know what a stud finder was. I used painter's tape to like hold my groceries together. Like that was it.
What was your first project where you thought, you know what? Maybe I have a knack for this?
I went full in. I was like, I'm going to do my son's nursery. So we were living in a suburb outside of Toronto. And during the pandemic, I had my baby and we moved into the city because the commute just to get downtown and back, which is where my husband was working, he was out of the house before my son was awake for the day. My son was asleep by the time my husband came home. So I was like, we got to move. We got to be closer to the city. So all we could afford in Toronto, and I think is a very relatable story, is just something that felt very unlivable, but it was, you got to get the land and make it work, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, we're doing this. We did this move for my son. So I was like, I want him to have a nice room. So I took on his room first, and like, I wasn't like, oh, I'm just going to paint and then throw a crib in the corner. I was like, I'm going to build a feature wall. This requires 3 saws, 2 nail guns, like every tool that I use today. I just threw myself into it with his room. And I'm here. I got my fingers.
Yeah,
like, nothing's
that's amazing.
chopped off. We lived, and the room is still standing.
So do you think you were always the type of person who was like, I'm just going to go in 100%? Or do you think you had to build that?
No, always. Yeah. Because like even in my career before I came to this, my last 3 roles that I took on before I did this, my roles didn't exist. I went to, for example, the VP of the department I was working at in communications, and I went, this gap exists, this exists. You don't have a multimedia person here. Create this role for me and I will run it for you. And that's what I did at the bank. I then took a course in social media because I wanted to learn more about it. I went through the entire certificate. And when the certificate was over, I was like, I didn't learn what I wanted to. I still need to know this, 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 and this. So I went and found the information myself. And then I went and contacted the chair of the program. And I was like, here are all the things that you're missing in the program. Hire me and I will teach it. Mm-hmm. And he was like, okay. So then I was a college professor for 6 years. So it was, I identify where there are things that I feel like are missing and where I think that I can add some value. And when I started with DIY, it wasn't, I'm going to start with DIY and I hope this snowballs into a TV show. It was the other way around. I was like, I'm going to be on TV doing this one day. I want to open my doors to a home renovation company. And I was like, in order to be able to do that, because that was a gap that existed. Mm-hmm. So similar to the rest of my career and identifying gaps, I was like, it's not common for there to be women-run construction companies where other women in the GTA feel safe hiring someone to come into their home and do renos in their home, where they feel safe not only physically, but they feel like they trust the person, they're being guided through the process with integrity. And I was like, that is the service that I want to offer. So I was like, I'm going to do it, but now I got to learn how to do it. So I always kind of went into it with that intention. And I was like, I have to figure this out. And I also have to position my social media presence in a way that, yes, I am learning and I want to show people that it's relatable and it's authentic. But I also have to establish myself as an authority on this subject matter because I'm going to go run a company about it one day. Mm-hmm. And I might hopefully have a TV show about it one day. So it was a very interesting balance to, fine line to walk as I was doing this.
Yeah, I love that. It's so funny. As you're talking, I'm like, yep, totally relate. Because I think I'm also the type of person, I'm like, oh, yep, I want to do this thing. Yeah. I'm just going to do it. And some people are like, wow, I was like, yep, still going for it. And the other day, somebody actually asked me, when did you believe that you had what it took to win Survivor? What happened in your life to make you believe you had what it took to win? And I was like, this might sound crazy, but I always believed I had what it took to win. I'm like, I never thought it was guaranteed and I thought it would be hard and I'd have to work hard. But I'm like, I never doubted that I had what it took to win. And they were like, oh, cool. And I was like, oh, I guess not everybody is like that. I have a feeling that if you were in a similar situation, you would be like, yeah, for sure, I have what it takes to win.
I mean, not Survivor. Like, I'd be first out guaranteed. But if there was something I applied myself to, you're going into it being like, I'm going to achieve this. Mm-hmm. And I find that if you don't have that mindset, you're not going to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How do you balance between having the certainty about yourself, but then also, my experience has been sometimes with the ambition, people can be intimidated. Is that something that you experienced before?
Yeah. I have these imposter syndrome moments every day. Every day. I remember there was one day on the show we were filming and it was something that was a little bit out of my comfort zone. It was a tool that I wasn't overly familiar with and it felt very construction heavy. There were going to be other people in this particular moment with me on camera. And it was a lot of really, intense construction men who have done this for their entire lives, who are trained to do this. They were doing all this stuff. And at a certain moment, our director of photography, our lead cameraman taps me on the shoulder and he goes, hey, in order for me to film you, like you've got to be in front of me, not behind me. And I didn't realize that I had backed up so far that I was literally standing behind the cameraman so he couldn't get me. And it was like, in that moment, I was like, whoa, what am I doing? And it was like, I had to like clock myself and be like, yeah, okay, this moment's intimidating. And I feel like maybe I don't belong here. But I'm like, I do belong here because they've put me here for a reason. So I'm going to just live in the discomfort and I'm going to figure it out and I'm just going to go do it.
Yeah. And it is so cool that you entered this new industry, or rather a new to you industry, very male dominated. And I know you had mentioned that you had worked in finance for 10 years before, another very male dominated field. So was there anything that you took from your previous careers that you wanted to make sure you were ready with when you entered this new male dominated space?
Yeah, what's really fun about working for yourself is you don't have to take anything from anybody, which is really nice because, when I did work in my corporate career, I was harassed in the workplace and I ultimately left one role I had because of it. And it's like you didn't want to put up your hand and be the person complaining and say that someone was bothering you. It was easier for me to leave and not make a noise because how dare you tarnish your personal brand, right? Here, I was like, this is my company. I can do whatever I want. So it was a really long process for me to find my team and the team that I work with today, because they are incredible. And the thing is, when you're working in this industry, most of the people that I'm going to find doing these trades, they're going to be men. And it took me a long time to find the right people with the right attitude, because there were people who came in here and being like, oh, well, where's the boss? We'll get started when the boss gets here. And I'm like, I am the boss, honey. So it was a lot of those kinds of moments. And it was like, this is your first day and your last day on this job site, FYI. So it was a lot of that. And it was a lot of, finding the right people. The thing is, I'm also not trained in this. I don't have a background in design or in construction. So I do have to rely on people who are smarter than me, who are more skilled than me. And there is a difference between someone saying, hey, like, if we tried it this way, it would save you either time or money or whatever. That is a way that I would love to learn because I want to continuously learn. But there is also the way, which is like mansplaining, or I like to call it correctile dysfunction, where they're just like, well, you know what? That's really good that you did it that way. Like, that doesn't fly with me. Talking to me like that doesn't work. So, the lesson that I essentially took from my previous career was I don't have to take any of it because this is now my job. This is my company and I'm the one paying you. So if you'd like to come work for me, which I'd love for you to work for me because you're very good at what you do, but there is also a certain level of attitude and behavior that has to go along with it.
I'm sure that a lot of people listening have dealt with the mansplaining or the correctile dysfunction. I've never heard that. That's amazing. What are your tips for being in that situation and dealing with someone speaking to you like that?
I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm like, do you want to get paid or not? Like, like I'm signing your check. So if you'd like to work, like, don't talk to me like a jerk. Like, don't talk to me like I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I had an electrician show up and was like, where's your husband? I was like, why does it matter where my husband is? He's like, oh, I want to explain where the lights go. And I'm like, do I not look intelligent enough to understand how to turn on a light switch? Get to the root of what the issue is here, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, if you fundamentally don't understand, I am a woman who owns a construction company, and you don't think I am capable of making decisions that I need to make around either personnel, materials, this and that, you are the wrong person to be here. So they were like, those like fail fast moments.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if it wasn't working, let's just call it a day. Here's your money. Like,
yeah,
have a nice day,
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like, at least for me in those situations now, I'm like, okay, you said that. Okay, we're just moving on. I was like, I don't have time to try to prove myself to you or anything. I'm like, okay, we're just going to move on to the next thing, do what we have to do in this conversation, and you'll probably never hear from me again.
Correct.
I'm like, I don't have time for this.
No, and it's like not my job to have to explain to you like how you should be conducting yourself.
Yeah, like the bedside manner. Yeah, 100%.
Like, so I'm just kind of like, that's not. So I'm like, let's finish out our day. This is not a good fit. And if they want feedback and they want to know why, I will let them know, and onwards and upwards.
Yeah. I feel like that's also a very former PR thing, because before we were always like, here's how you act in an interview. Here's how you do this. And now I'm like, I don't have the patience for, if you don't know how to act and be polite, I'm moving on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also love how you said that you are always learning, you're always figuring things out. And you know the saying, start before you're ready? As I was researching you and I was watching your show, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, she is starting before she is 100% ready. Is that something that resonates with you?
Absolutely. Because if you asked me if I was ready today, I would still say no. I'm not ready today to run a construction company. I'm not ready to be on TV. I'm not ready to have my own show. Yet here we are. Like, and if you're going to wait for that moment's never going to come. Or if it does come, it's too late. Like, if you were like, I'm 1,000% ready to start my podcast, I have every guest I ever wanted lined up, like, you're probably in 2035, and in which case the market is oversaturated and no one's here to listen to you. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you have to strike while the iron is hot. And it was like, that was the moment. I wanted to do this company, and I was putting it off. I was like, now it's not a good time. I'm pregnant. It doesn't make sense to go pick up my first power tool when I'm pregnant. Now it's not a good time because the pandemic's starting. Like, who wants to, I'm not going to be able to go into people's homes anyway. And it was like, no, just now's the time. We're moving. It was like, put up or shut up time. I was like, either I'm hiring someone to do this house because it's unsafe for us to live in right now, or I'm going to do it. And this is my opportunity. So I just ripped the Band-Aid and did it.
I love it. That's the thing. I think a lot of people might see people on TV, people on social media, listen to people, the people that they see who look like they have made it and they have it together. And I want to assure them 99% of us are still figuring it out as we go.
You know what the most embarrassing thing for me is? Now the show is live. Like, the show is out there, and I show Instagram stories every time I'm watching the show. My current house is insane. Like, like a month after we finished filming, I moved, and then this summer blew up. I had sick family members and stuff like that, and I couldn't work on my house. So now my house looks pretty much the same way it does as when I moved in, just with our stuff everywhere. And this is over 100-year-old home. It is ugly. Like, it is. So now when I'm posting stories and I'm like, wait, I have a TV show, and then I show the background of my house, and I'm like embarrassed to live in this house. But I'm like, you can't be ready for what life has throwing at you. You just roll with it and do things on your own time.
I love it. You have to just be real, right? But I think that probably makes you more relatable, because the people who would be watching your show probably have a house that they think this isn't good enough to be on camera, right? So I think it just makes you more real.
Well, thanks.
So can you tell people about Beer Budget Reno?
Sure. So the show was kind of an extension of really what I do in my business and in social media. So my tagline on social media was always champagne renos on a beer budget. And I want people to have a home that they love. I want people to feel like they love their space and can be at home with it, and it's safe for them, and it's beautiful and functional regardless of what their income is and regardless of what their means are. Especially with us living in Toronto, like, real estate prices are unaffordable. That's truthfully what they are. And it's like, people sink everything they have and then some into buying the actual property, and then they have nothing for the reno, which was my lived experience. So I said, if this is me, I know that there are so many others in the same situation. So I want to deliver renovations that are beautiful and functional and just make you feel cozy and at home in a place where you want to make those memories, but not in a place that's going to break your bank account. So it was what I was doing, and now we're doing it on TV, and we're doing it for families around the GTA. And it's so nice, because what I find about renos, and I found this even before doing the show, is the reno is not normally about the reno. It's the story behind the reno. I need to do this because I'm getting out of a really messy divorce and I need a new start. Or I'm doing this because someone passed during COVID and this room reminds me of a really bad time in my life and I need a new outlook. So it's the story behind it. And I find that we get a lot of these really nice stories throughout the show, and I love it.
Oh, I love that. I know you mentioned earlier that you saw that there was a gap when it came to the home reno shows on TV. So what is something that you really wanted to make sure was either on screen or that you represented in the show?
Yeah, so it comes back to my number one Googled question about me, and it's what's my ethnicity? And I grew up watching home reno shows, and I felt like it followed a very specific pattern of what either the people looked like or what their hair color was or what their body size was, or it was a duo of like a husband and a wife where like the dude was the contractor and like the teeny tiny female was the designer. And now I'm like, I am the teeny tiny female and the dude.
Yeah, you are.
Like, I get to do all of it because I got to create this in a way that really resonated with me and the business I created. And I wanted people to watch the show and see someone who looked like them. I don't know if people are Googling my ethnicity because like they just want to know, or if it's because they're like, wait, is she from where I am? Because that's really cool to see her on TV, because I need this fact checked, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this. But on both networks where my show is airing, I think I am the first Indian woman to ever headline her own show.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is incredible.
And I don't think it hit me at the time what a big deal that was, but it's a big deal. And not for me, not because of me, but because I think there are people who now get to watch this growing up, as I did, and go, that's normal. Because for me, it wasn't normal growing up. So I think that part of it is really cool, is to be able to see someone that looks like you and know that you don't have to have that like 10-year journey that I have had, feeling like you weren't good enough as you were. It's cool to be able to see me on TV now, and for someone who's now in their teens to already know that they are good enough the way they are.
100%. I recently had an author, Sheena Yap-Chan, on my podcast. So she wrote the book, Bridging the Confidence Gap. And in her book, she talks about how living confidently and being yourself is not a selfish thing. It's actually in service to the rest of society because of exactly what you said. Someone else can see you being confident and then relating to you. So whether it is another South Asian person, whether it's another woman, or even if it's somebody who had never picked up a power tool and said, hey, she picked up a power tool 4 years ago and now she has a TV show. Maybe I can paint my own interior of my house. And I think that it's incredible that you're able to do it with the show.
Thank you. And like, you know, something that was really important to me with the show was sort of like the education piece of it, because what I find really great about Budget Reno is that it is so realistic and it's so attainable. It's not one of these aspirational shows where you're like, that's nice, but I don't live on a beachfront and I don't have $4 million. This is, do you have $100? Do you have a can of paint in your garage? What is something that you can do? And I wanted to make sure in every single episode, there were multiple moments of an actual tutorial where this is something you watch the show on a Thursday night. Guess what? You can go and do it on Saturday. It's something that you can actually do, take the tip away and then go and do something in your house. The number of DMs that I've gotten where they're like, I watched this episode a couple of nights ago and then look what I did to my living room.
Wow.
And then they'll DM me a before and after. And I'm like, that is so cool. And that is what this is about. In every single episode, I get the homeowners on the tools. Whether they're painting, they're using a saw, they're using a nail gun, they're doing something with it, because this is like this full circle moment of I'm like, yeah, I taught myself, but now I can teach other people. And then these people can do it for themselves. When I was throughout my corporate career and even now, my mindset around work has always been, I have done my job when I am not needed anymore. So in like my corporate career, I'm like, if I've delegated efficiently to my team, if I've, found a vendor that can do this where I'm like chilling, I'm not doing a job anymore, I've worked myself out of my job, I'm like, that to me is success. Then I get to go move along to something else. And for me, it's the same here. When I don't have a multi-year wait list, that to me is success, because I'm like, people have then done this work for themselves. They've felt empowered to go and do it themselves. And maybe the show has taught them something.
See, what I loved about watching it, I love that you brought that up, because I do love that you assign the homeowner homework.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it, I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know if I would want her to tell me to build cabinets. And then you see the initial apprehension in the homeowner. And then afterwards, when everything is installed and the room is done, you could see there's an extra sense of pride that people actually did it themselves.
Yeah.
And I know the show is airing, so I don't want you to spoil anything, but was there a story or a transformation that really stuck out to you from the show?
One that was really nice to me, and it's because I have a bit of a personal connection. One of my friends from elementary school was on the show, and we'd been out of touch for like 20 years. And yeah, she came on the show and she was having a baby in like 3 weeks. And she was staying with her parents and she didn't have a lot of money. And her budget she gave me was 3 rooms for $3,500 with a baby coming in 3.5 weeks.
Wow.
It was really great. From one, it was just really nice to be able to do something for a friend. But two, again, it was like any budget is realistic. To take $3,500 across 3 rooms, all you need to do is put in a little bit of elbow grease and some creativity, and anybody could have a home that they love.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Before we wrap, want to know, do you have any outstanding advice? If there's someone listening and they might be second guessing themselves. Maybe they have a dream in mind, but they're not sure how they should start, if they should start. What is your advice to them?
Do it. Do it. Start now, because you're never going to be ready. You're never going to be ready. You learn everything on the job. Every day that you don't do what you are dreaming of is a day lost. I never knew I was going to end up on TV. I mean, I knew it because I planned it and I was gonna, but I thought I was going to have to, I didn't know how long that path was going to take. But I was reached out to by 5 production companies in one summer.
Wow.
The first summer that I was working on this business. And I went, this is something, but you're not going to get that opportunity unless you put yourself out there. So it is scary. I don't know if you're going to be ready, but you have to do it anyway. Because if there is ever an environment where anybody from any walk of life with any background has a shot at doing something, now is the time. Now is at the time in our society where you have the best chance that you've ever had in the history of our world to be able to make something happen for yourself. So if you want to do it, just do it. Be scared and do it anyway.
I love that. And you are certainly proof of that. Congratulations on everything you achieved.
Thank you.
If people want to keep up with you and if they want to watch Beer Budget Reno, where can they do that?
So my social media, I'm on Instagram. My handle's at Kristen Coutts. And Beer Budget Reno is airing on Home Network. It's on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
Oh, I love it. Kristen, thank you so much for joining. I feel like I related so much to you, and I'm sure everyone is going to get so much out of our conversation.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here.
And thank you, everybody, for being here. If you haven't already, I would love if you could subscribe, rate, and review the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. It helps people to find inspirational conversations like this. So thank you so much for spending a bit of time with me this week, and I will be happy to see you next Monday.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Sonar Network.